We just heard that Joe Biden's mandating vaccines for 80 million private sector workers. Larry Elder's running for governor in California. The recall election there is on September 14th. He joins us with his reaction. Larry, I don't care what you think of vaccines. You're for them, you're against them. America got a little less free today, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do to change that.
Well, you're right, and I'm not anti-vaccine. I've been vaccinated. I think vaccines do work. I'm in a high-risk category, but a lot of people have made a very different decision. And you're quite right. Freedom ought to stand for something. This is on a collision course to the United States Supreme Court, and I believe that what Joe Biden just now did will be ruled to be unconstitutional. It'll take a while for it to get there, but I think maybe 5-4, maybe even 6-3, it's going to be determined to be unconstitutional, Jesse.
The problem is people in California, Larry, they love it. They don't care if it's legal. They just want to jam this stuff down people's throats, into their arms. They don't care about whether it's right or wrong. They just go along with whatever the government tells them.
Well, I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last. A whole lot of people are ticked off. That's why 2 million people signed that petition, Jesse. A third of them were the very people, independents and Democrats, who voted for him just 2 years earlier. A whole lot of people are upset about this. My opponent, Gavin Newsom, has mandated that if you're a state worker and you've not been vaccinated, you're going to be tested once a week and you're going to be required to wear a face mask at work. A lot of people are hopping mad about that. Nurses are mad about it. Cops are mad about it. Firefighters are mad about it. There's going to be a lawsuit, and as I said, this is going to be on a collision course up to the United States Supreme Court, and ultimately the people who want freedom are going to be vindicated.
And that governor there has failed to manage that state, whether it's the water, whether it's the energy, whether it's the forests, whether it's the pandemic. He has failed to manage that state, and that's really what this entire election is about, or should be about. But Larry, they don't want it to be about that. They want it to be about personal attacks. You were attacked broad daylight yesterday in L.A. Here's that clip. Watch.
Impact from behind. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
So you see the white lady in the gorilla mask throwing eggs. What exactly happened there, Larry?
Well, you know, she might be one of the 20,000 people that were released early from our prisons, felons, many of whom were violent offenders under this governor. I don't know. We have 2 soft on crime DAs. I consider this to be one of the many intersections in California, the intersection between lawlessness and homelessness. I was at a homeless encampment in Venice, and a lot of people are angry. Homeowners are angry. Families are angry. Children have to go and pass these people to and from school. And the homeless population is in danger. And it's also a health hazard, and nothing's being done about it. That's one of the many failures of this governor. So it was a very angry, ugly scene. You know, if I were a Democrat, obviously, this would be called systemic racism. They'd be calling it a hate crime. I don't like to play that game. I do know this. There was a big article about me, a negative, in the New York Times. It never once mentioned that I'm black, never once mentioned that I would be the first black governor of California. I never made a big deal out about that. I don't want people to vote for me or against me because I'm black. But on the very same page of the New York Times, there was a big article about the, quote, first female governor of New York, close quote. Even though she didn't get elected, she was basically appointed because the other governor resigned. So they cared about the first when it was a female Democrat, but couldn't give a rip about the first when it was a black Republican.
I'll say it looks like a hate crime to me. Gorilla mask, first potential black governor of the largest state in the country. We reached out to Newsom's office, to Maxine Waters' office, to Kamala Harris, asking them to condemn. No response. How's that make you feel?
Crickets.
Yeah.
Crickets. And when Gavin Newsom's children were criticized because Gavin Newsom mandated that you wear face masks outdoors, and his kids were at summer camp not wearing face masks, we put out a statement saying leave Gavin Newsom's children out of this. But the governor has not put out a statement about this white woman, apparently a white woman wearing a gorilla mask, threw an egg at me. I don't expect that because, look, all these people have come in. Joe Biden has made a statement. Bernie Sanders has made a statement. Barack Obama's cut a commercial. And nobody Nobody has uttered the following words, Jesse: Gavin Newsom has done a good job for the people of California. You won't hear that because he hasn't. Not on crime, not on homelessness, not on the decline in the quality of public education. A former state senator, leader of the state senate at the time, her name is Gloria Romero. She's still a Democrat, has crossed party lines, and has endorsed my candidacy largely because of school choice, a cause that I'm going to champion. So this is across the board. It's not just Democrats, not just independents. People are fed up, which is why people are leaving California for the first time in our state's 170-year history.
Another thing you won't hear about is this story in the mainstream media. Can't find it on CNN. Washington Post won't cover it. Just imagine if it had been the other way. Stacey Abrams, Maxine, something like that. Forget about it. But this is how they rig elections, Larry. You get the big media colludes with the big donors to suppress negative stories that come out of their precincts, and then they hurl negative smears at you. And that's how they rig elections, and that takes away the power of the people to vote freely and fairly. You just mentioned Obama releasing this video message about you. Let's listen to that.
Hello, Californians. You've got a big choice to make by September 14th. Governor Newsom has spent the past year and a half protecting California communities. Now Republicans are trying to recall him from office and overturn common sense COVID safety measures for healthcare workers and school staff. Your vote could be the difference between protecting our kids and putting them at risk.
Bringing in the big guns, Larry, Barack, Joe Biden, Kamala, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings throwing his wallet around. Man, they're all in, because if you win, that just shows the liberal mechanism that they have, supermajority, failed in that state.
Well, that's right. And Obama called this the Republicans. 63% of Hispanics voted for Gavin Newsom 2 years earlier. Now the polls show a majority of Hispanics want him out. I just now mentioned former Democrat Senate leader Gloria Romero has crossed party lines to support me. A majority of independents now want him gone, and they voted for Gavin Newsom 2 years ago. So it's a nice try. Notice Obama did not say Governor Gavin Newsom has done a good job for the people of California.
Exactly.
Because you can't defend this man's record. It is indefensible.
Exactly right. All right, fresh off the birthday party in the vineyard, Barack Obama weighing in on Larry. Larry, good luck out there.
All right, welcome to Hannity. Busy breaking news night. Disturbing news from Afghanistan. 4 dangerous Gitmo detainees released by Obama and Biden in 2014. They have now been appointed to key positions in the new Islamic Emirate known as Afghanistan. Great job, Joe and Barack. They joined several other notable terrorists at the top of the Taliban's new government. Now these radical Islamists are holding our fellow Americans hostage, blocking them from leaving the country, sending death squads door to door, hunting for anyone that helped America, that has Western ties in the last 20 years. But tonight, the Biden administration, they are more concerned with the Taliban's lack of inclusivity. I wish I was kidding, but I am not. It's day 25. Americans abandoned behind enemy lines and held hostage.
With regard to the composition of this government or interim government, it includes people who have very challenging track records.
Allowing the Taliban to pick its most wanted, its top draft picks out of Guantanamo to now see them in charge of what is quickly becoming a terrorist superstate is just a slap in the face.
So I guess we shouldn't be surprised when now terrorists, people who have been let go and everything else, are running the very organization that this State Department and this administration is trying to negotiate with. It makes absolutely no sense.
Every time I don't think this situation can get any worse, it does.
Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Day 25.
25 days, Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Let me say this one more time. All of this could have been prevented easily. From April to May, from May to June to July to August, we had months to withdraw all of our people. We had a duty to halt. We saw the Taliban advancing. We could have easily maintained control of Bagram Air Base. We could have aggressively bombed the Taliban with drones and we could have expedited the withdrawal of Americans and their families and also our Afghan allies and the billions of dollars worth of military equipment while we had full control. Biden was warned daily by the intel community about the deteriorating situation. He chose to lie to this country, lie to all of us about the well-trained Afghan military. They were all getting their asses kicked, and the entire world was watching. And, of course, he encouraged Afghanistan's president, the one that abandoned the country with a lot of money, to lie to the world. And now the fate of our fellow Americans rests in the hands of terrorists, including Islamists, once imprisoned at Guantanamo Bay, freed in exchange for a former Army deserter by Biden and Obama. In 2015, during his announcement speech, then candidate Trump predicted that this Bergdahl Taliban prison swap, he predicted it would end in a disaster. Just like years earlier, he predicted Osama bin Laden is a bad guy. That wasn't going to end well. Take a look.
The people negotiating it don't have a clue. Our president doesn't have a clue. He's a bad negotiator. He's the one that did Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl. They get 5 killer terrorists that everybody wanted over there. We get Bergdahl. We get a traitor. We get a no-good traitor. And they get the 5 people that they wanted for years. And those people are now back on the battlefield trying to kill us.
Donald Trump was right. 2 years later, Bo Bergdahl, he pleaded guilty to desertion and misbehavior before the enemy. And now 4 out of the 5 Gitmo detainees who were exchanged for Bergdahl, they are in leadership positions now atop the new Taliban government, which, by the way, will swear themselves in, I believe, on the 20th anniversary of September 11, 2001. And as we first reported last night, these terrorists are blocking private chartered flights from extracting our own American citizens. And according to Biden's own Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, our ability to get those planes in the sky is pretty limited without the control of an airport or boots on the ground. Watch this.
As of now, the Taliban are not permitting the charter flights to depart. They claim that some of the passengers do not have the required documentation. While there are limits to what we can do without personnel on the ground, without an airport, with normal security and procedures in place, we are working to do everything in our power to support those flights and to get them off the ground.
And the State Department said that even if those private chartered planes get permission to land in a country, they can't come to the U.S. That's not an option. How is that possible when we have U.S. citizens on board? But if they get permission, but that permission is predicated on permission from our State Department, the answer will be no. Explain that to me. Biden said we had all the leverage. Where's the leverage, Joe? If only we held on to Bagram or kept forces on the ground or used Predator drones to push back the Taliban, or speeding up the withdrawal until every American was out, every Afghan ally was out, all our military equipment was out. None of that happened, and you had months watching this unfold. And now Blinken seems less concerned with Americans left behind, but he's more concerned with the lack, get this, the lack of diversity and inclusion in the Taliban's new government. When the Taliban was in power the last time, girls couldn't go to school, women couldn't go to work, they were subjugated to men. Young girls were taken as sex slaves and wives by Taliban fighters. Do we think they changed? I doubt it. Take a look.
Yesterday, the Taliban named a new interim government. We're assessing the announcement, but despite professing that a new government would be inclusive, the announced list of names consists exclusively of individuals who are members of the Taliban or their close associates, and no women. It certainly does not meet the test of inclusivity, and it includes people who have very challenging track records.
A stunning lack of inclusivity from a terrorist organization that we already know enslaves women, subjugates women, and forces young girls against their will to marry Taliban fighters, and they murder musicians and artists and anybody they don't like. Does that make sense? These are terrorists, Mr. Blinken. How stupid are you? They're whipping women and children with wires at the airport. They're hunting down female Afghan police officers. They're murdering them right in the street. You see the reports. You know the truth. They helped plan the 9/11 terrorist attacks that took out nearly 3,000 Americans, 2,977, if my memory serves me correctly. The Biden administration is worried over the lack of gender diversity in the Taliban's new government. Are you really that ignorant? Sadly, it appears the answer is yes. A brand new ad from Trump's Save America PAC highlights the insane level of incompetence, really just touches the surface. Take a look. It was still telling us one of the best trained armies in the world, one of the best trained militaries in the world, after the Taliban had the Afghan military army in full collapse and had taken over 60% of the country. How do you get it that wrong when you know it's wrong? Maybe it has something to do with his steep cognitive decline. Joe Biden seems to have a hard time speaking, thinking, walking, and doing any basic function at this point for himself. So his staff of social justice warriors, they seem to be calling the shots. But don't take my word for it. Just look at this other strange moment from Biden earlier today. Take a look.
Now, I'm supposed to stop and walk out of the room here. I'm going to stop, but with your permission, I'm going to walk into the room because I want to say hello to all of you. Thank you.
And I know we don't call them tornadoes anymore either. It stopped being funny a long time ago. Now hundreds of Americans are held hostage. 13 brave American heroes are dead because of that guy's incompetence. One Gold Star mother invited former President Trump to her son's funeral, not Joe Biden. You have all these 9/11 families saying, don't come to our memorials on 9/11. And this mother says that Joe Biden has blood on his hands. In a social media post, she called Biden a weak human being and a traitor. Joe Biden truly is a weak human being in every way, physically, mentally, morally. And now a vast majority of Americans seem to agree. A new Democratic-leaning YouGov economist poll has Biden's approval rating now below 40%, with an oversampling of Democrats of 10%.
Americans held hostage, abandoned behind enemy lines. Day 27.
Day 27, Americans held hostage behind enemy lines. We have a lot of news to bring on that front tonight. Now, tonight, let's start with your freedom is under assault. Dr. Joe Biden, not sure what medical school he went to, won't take no for an answer. Now, it's your body. It's his choice with an unconstitutional, illegal, unethical federal vaccine mandate that, by the way, he said he would never support. One that Jen Psaki told us that it is not the role of the federal government to do. One that Nancy Pelosi said they don't have the authority to do it. And Kamala Harris was the one that said it's your body. You get to make the choice. And to make matters worse, this has nothing to do with your health or safety. Instead, this is a cold, it is a calculated, it is a political ploy. Biden's presidency has been a complete disaster in every single way. Think of one thing. Can you name one thing that he's done that you could point to that you think is a success? He abandoned Americans behind enemy lines. Can't even tell us how many he abandoned. Darrell Issa says around 500. 13 American heroes are now dead because of Joe's Afghan disaster. When he had control of Kabul, he could have gotten every American out safely, every Afghan ally out safely, all our equipment out safely. His poll numbers are in the basement. He's desperate to galvanize support around a shared common enemy. That enemy is some Americans that don't buy into his one-size-fits-all unscientific medicine. Think about this. One size fits all. No medical exemptions. Let's start there. How is that following science? It's not, especially those who refuse to follow his vaccine rules and mandates, including Republican governors, by the way, who won't act like mini dictators, who actually believe strongly in a principle that Joe gives lip service to, and it's called liberty and freedom and choice. Joe says it's not about freedom. It's not about choice. It is about freedom. It is about your choice. It is about your unique medical history and your current medical condition and what your doctor thinks, not a phony doctor or TV guys that think they're doctor or play doctor on TV. Americans that value their medical privacy, Americans that value doctor-patient confidentiality, and anyone else who believes in personal freedom, Joe Biden's heartfelt unity pledge, oh, that lasted all but 7 months. Now it's us versus them, and Dr. Joe's patience is wearing thin. He wants to lecture you and scold you for not listening.
Restore the soul and secure the future of America requires so much more than words. It requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy, unity. This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself. My whole soul is in this, bringing America together, uniting our people. My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? With unity, we can do great things, important things. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin. This is our historic moment of crisis and challenge, and unity is the path forward. And your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing.
Now, clearly, Joe's unity pledge was a lie. Now, half the country is, what, enemy number one? Because they don't want to follow Dr. Joe. In fact, Democrats say nicer things about illegal immigrants and even the Taliban, some of them, than the 80 million unvaccinated Americans. I guess it's open season on them. Do you know anything about their medical condition, their medical history? You know anything about what their doctors are advising them? According to the Biden administration, 20 years after 9/11, the Taliban is professional and they are businesslike. But if you're unvaccinated and you're an American unvaccinated, you're ignorant, you're selfish, and his patience is running out. Take a look.
Time to start prioritizing ICU beds for people who are vaccinated.
They're saying the Taliban is businesslike and professional. Their interior minister has an FBI wanted poster. He's got a $10 million bounty on his head.
In order to get those people out, we had to work with some members of the Taliban to press them and to work in a businesslike manner to get them out.
I just think if you don't want to play by any of those rules and then all of a sudden you end up in the hospital, I feel bad that you... But maybe you shouldn't go and take up the resources from someone else.
Immigrants coming to our country, with newcomers coming with their hopes and dreams and aspirations, with their optimism and determination to make the future better for their families. Well, those are American traits.
So, according to the left, crossing our borders illegally, breaking our laws, that's heroic. No vaccine mandates for illegal aliens, no mandatory tests, just Joe's overcrowded cages in the middle of a pandemic with a very high rate of COVID positivity, including those not tested. And then, by the way, then you get to pick the state of your choice. You'll be dispersed all over the country, not even getting a COVID test. Joe's following the science, really? And you want to lecture Americans and scold Americans and tell them how bad they are and how they should be hated and give license to attacks on people that have different views or medical conditions you might not even know about. But you better get the vaccine or Dr. Joe Biden is going to unleash the full force of the federal government against you and your loved ones and your employer, and you will be canceled in society altogether. You'll be shut out of everything. Illegal aliens, by the way, I see that Mayorkas won't use that term anymore, starting today, apparently, or yesterday. They get no mandates and free trips to the state, right? They get free trips, no mandates, get to go to the state of their choice. And they get free health care and free education. You pay for that, all while totally exempt from this mandate. Take a look.
United States.
But it's a requirement for people at a business with more than 100 people. It is not a requirement for migrants at the southern border. Why?
That's correct. Go ahead.
The rules don't apply to illegal immigrants or members of Congress or their staffers. It wasn't even going to apply to postal workers until public pressure forced the administration to reverse course late today. But it does apply to millions of law-abiding Americans. It doesn't matter if you have a rare pre-existing condition and your doctor thinks taking the vaccine is very risky and not the right choice for you. It doesn't matter if you had COVID and you have T-cell immunity from a prior infection. Cleveland Clinic says the science is pretty clear on that so far. It doesn't matter if you prefer to keep your medical decisions private. The frail, the weak, the mentally incompetent, impaired president Dr. Joe knows best. And, of course, the mandate is deeply unconstitutional on top of all of this. At least 10 governors are now planning legal action, including Governor Nome, Governor Abbott, Governor DeSantis, and Shadow President Chief of Staff Ron Klain. He's now apparently congratulating himself, calling the new mandate the ultimate workaround for a federal vaccine requirement. But anyone with a functioning brain knows that the mandate is in serious legal jeopardy. Even fake news CNN attorneys recognize this. And that's why a few months ago, several top Democrats promised there would be no federal vaccine mandate because it's not the role of the federal government. Take a look how things change.
No, I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand to be mandatory.
Perhaps the federal government should step in and issue mandates, and if not, are you putting the needs of unvaccinated people ahead of the needs of vaccinated people?
Well, I think the question here, one, that's not the role of the federal government. That is the role that institutions, private sector entities, and others may take.
We cannot require someone to be vaccinated. That's just not what we can do.
I am all for more vaccination, but I have nothing further to say on that except that we're looking into those policies. And quite honestly, as people are doing that locally, those are individual local decisions as well.
I don't think you'll ever see a mandating of vaccine, particularly for the general public.
Oh, okay. Another big change of the goalposts move like every day. Why would anyone have any faith? Want to know where vaccine hesitancy comes from? The people that change their mind every 5 seconds and the people that were wrong in every prediction they ever made. They keep changing everything every single day. No mask, one mask, two masks, vax or mask. Now it's vax and mask. Now it's vax, mask, and add a booster to it. Apparently they were all lying, and now Biden is in a desperate attempt at a political scapegoat, and unvaccinated Americans fit the bill. Same guy that left open borders and no testing of illegal immigrants with a high rate of COVID positivity and then dumped in Joe's cages. That's right, a petri dish, if you will. And Dr. Joe just can't understand why anyone would be vaccine hesitant. Why on earth would anyone not trust the experts? You know, the ones that were wrong about the origins of COVID. And some actually really lied. We now know the transmissibility of COVID, the use of ventilators, the vaccine timeline, the threshold for herd immunity, the ones who promised 2 weeks to slow the spread, the ones who told us not to wear masks, then one mask, then two masks, then masks outdoors, then no masks outdoors, vaxxed and masked, vax masked, and now boosted, and on and on. Can you keep up? Even Joe and Kamala, they expressed hesitancy over the vaccine. Maybe they forgot.
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump.
Getting vaccinated is the single best defense against COVID-19 and its variants. It's the single best defense.
I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either. I'm going to continue to do everything I can to encourage the unvaccinated to get vaccinated. That includes addressing hesitancy and misinformation head on.
Actually, unlike Joe and Kamala, I actually believe in the science. I believe in the science of vaccination under Trump, and I believe in them now. And as I said many times, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do. I don't know anything about your medical history. I don't know anything about your current medical condition. But you better take this seriously. People die. I know people that ended up on ventilators, some that barely survived, and some that died. I am a radio and television host. That's right. I'm a member of the mob in the media, except we're the good side of the mob. And we also are members of the press. I'm not a medical doctor. I didn't go to medical school. Now, we will do our best to keep you informed and bring on experts with all different points of view, but only you know your unique medical history and current condition, and only you, in consultation with your doctors, should make that informed, important decision about a vaccine. Not any television host, and frankly, not any swamp member in D.C., not any of the wannabe doctors on fake news CNN or MSDNC, certainly not Dr. Joe Biden. I'd like to know what medical school he went to, or anybody in the federal government without a medical license. You have a personal responsibility to protect yourself, your family, and others. And how you do that is your business, not mine. But you do have that responsibility. Not Dr. Joe's either. Individual freedom, liberty is a precious right in this country. Once you lose it, it will be gone forever. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.